Dr. Crusher to Ensign Crusher. Aren't you supposed to be getting a haircut, Wesley?
One of the greatest toy lines of the 90s had to be the Playmates Star Trek The Next Generation action figure line. And they made a lot of figures. Even 3 different Picards. But what about some of the figures they didn't make? What about some of those characters that should have got molded into plastic? Let's look at the top 10 Star Trek Playmates action figures that should have been made. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with a whole new video. So what are we going to talk about today? One of the greatest toy lines of the 90s, Star Trek Playmates. Now, I know there were Star Wars toys in the 90s, but for me, the most fun to collect anyway, although I did love the Star Wars toys in the 90s, the most fun for me to collect was the Star Trek Playmate action figure line. This was a great time for Star Trek, and as you all know, The Next Generation is a great television show. When Playmates released their action figure line from Star Trek, they went crazy with it. They made all kinds of figures. They even made a Dr. Polanski. Whew. The Jar Jar Binks of Star Trek. Now, the Star Trek Playmates line didn't just focus on The Next Generation. They started making figures from the classic movies, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and the Next Generation movies. But for this video, for these 10 figures they should have made, we're going to stick to just the Next Generation. Because that's really what I know. I know you all tell me Deep Space Nine is great. I've gotten about 3 seasons into it. I just can't get into it. But I need to. Everyone tells me it's great. Maybe I just need to force myself. Because, let's be honest, the first about 2 seasons of Next Generation isn't that good either. But I have a great love for Next Generation. Actually, I think I'll watch it almost every day. It's usually my go-to show at night on Netflix. I throw it on, don't matter what episode it is, just a random episode, and a good way to end the day. But you didn't come to this video to hear me talk about how I get to sleep at night. You came here to know what 10 action figures Playmates should have made for the Next Generation line. So let's go with number 10. That would be an action figure of Cayman. Who is Cayman? Well, it's Picard. Yep, another Picard figure. Now, they did a slew of different Picards. You had Picard in 2 different uniforms. You had the old man Picard from All Good Things, the last episode of Star Trek. You had him as a Borg. And you had a Picard as Gambit and a Picard as Dixon Hill. Maybe another one I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. So do we really need another Picard one? Well, I think so. At least Cayman. Who was Cayman? In the Next Generation episode, The Inner Light, Captain Picard finds himself on a planet where he's living the life of Cayman. And he lives out the entire life growing old. Although this was only a one-time episode, it became a meaningful episode in the Star Trek series. After this episode, we would see Picard at times playing the flute that he learned to play as Cayman, and get references to the episode even in the new Picard series. Being that this is such a famous episode, I think they should have made a Cayman figure. But again, we have so many Picards. I mean, we got 3 Picards right here. So I can understand why maybe you didn't want another Picard figure, and he doesn't look that different. But they could do him maybe an older one. But let's look at number 9. Now, this is a character that was on the Next Generation a lot. Probably more times than Chief O'Brien, but she didn't get an action figure. And that would be Dr. Beverly Crusher's assistant, Alyssa Ogawa. She appears in 16 episodes of The Next Generation. More than some of the other characters that got action figures, like Ensign Rowe. And she was seen throughout the series from 1990 to 1994. She definitely deserves a Playmate action figure. I mean, after all, Dr. Polanski got a figure. Whoa, Dr. Polanski. Whew. Now number 8. And this one they did make a figure of, kinda. Worf's son, Alexander. I guess his name is Alexander, son of Worf. And yes, they did do this figure, kinda. They did an action figure of Worf in his cowboy gear from the episode A Fistful of Datas. And it came with an Alexander figure dressed as a cowboy. But it was just a hard piece of plastic. Didn't move. They never did an official figure of Alexander. And this was also a key character in Star Trek. It really helped shape and develop the character of Worf, more than just that angry Klingon security guard. He deserved an action figure all to himself, not just a hunk of plastic wearing a cowboy outfit. There's two things you need if you're gonna live aboard the Enterprise. One, warp drive. Second, a good barber. And did you know there was a barber on Star Trek? That's right. Floyd the Barber was on 16 episodes of Star Trek. Oh, hold on. No, not Floyd the Barber. Barbara Moat was on 3 episodes of The Next Generation. That's right. Not only did you have a bartender on the ship, you had a barber. This was that blue alien, and he deserves a figure also. Although we didn't see him much, when we did see Mr. Moat, the barber, on The Next Generation, it was always a delight. He was always a fun character who should have had his own spin-off movie series. If Beverly Crusher's BFF, the Traveler, can get an action figure, so could Mr. Moat. Also, it's always good to get some non-human alien. One of the best episodes of Star Trek is Chain of Command. You know that one. There are 3 lights! I'm sure you remember that one. This was a great 2-part episode. And on this episode, when Picard is removed as captain of the Enterprise, so he can go on his secret mission, they bring in a new captain, Captain Jericho, Edward Jericho. And he's really stern. You really hate him when you first see this episode. For one, he doesn't like Riker. How can you not like Riker? I mean, look how he sits down in chairs.
The transfer has been completed. Dr. Pulaski's being shown to her quarters. Are the most important. You may want to start with something like this here.
I don't like you.
I guess I can see how that can be annoying to a new captain aboard the Enterprise. But he was very stern and firm. But when you watch this episode more than once, you start to think, you know, he's not that bad. Yeah, he's kind of an a-hole, but he kind of makes sense too, where you can kind of understand where he's coming from. They really made him a 3-dimensional character here. They didn't just put a new captain on the Enterprise. You kind of understood why he was grouchy and why he was a firm captain. Now for number 5, gonna cheat a little bit, because I'm going to put 3 figures as number 5. Number 5 is going to be real-life historical figures, and the 3 I'm going to pick from are the 3 that Data plays poker with: Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, and Stephen Hawking. Wouldn't this make a great 3-pack? They did a lot of 3-packs during the Star Trek line, and this would have been a cool one to have. Now, yes, they did some other historical figures throughout Next Generation. Off the top of my head, you have Mark Twain, and I'm sure some others. But it would have been cool for Playmates to do these 3 figures as a figure set. Number 4 is another character that only appeared on 1 episode, but I think she made such an impact to the show, she should have been a Playmates action figure. And her name is Law. If you don't remember her, it's Data's daughter. Now we got a figure of Data's father. We got a figure of Data's brother. So why not give us a figure of Data's daughter, Law? Another one-time character that really made an impact on the show. Although I don't believe she's mentioned ever again after this episode, her character still brought a lot of depth to Data. One of Picard's most feared enemies didn't get an action figure. Now we did get a figure of an unnamed Romulan, but we should have got a figure of Commander Tomalak. Although he only appeared in 4 episodes, it was always great to see him tangle with Picard. And out of all the Romulans to appear on The Next Generation, he is probably the most well-known. Now as you can see here, they made Picard as Locutus of Borg. That was another great episode, the best of both worlds. Do you know who they didn't make from that episode that they should have? Shelby. Shelby was brought onto the Enterprise due to her expertise dealing with the Borg. Although she never really interacted with them, somehow she knew a lot about them and was working with Starfleet on a defense plan for when the Borgs did attack. This would have been a cool figure to have, and I always wanted more figures in uniform so they could stand in the background of my bridge playset. Now let's look at number 1, although I guess this top 10 list isn't really in a 10 order, but I think this would have been a pretty cool one to have. Moriarty. Moriarty appeared in 2 episodes as a hologram, a fictional character that appeared in some of the Sherlock Holmes stories. When the hologram computer is asked to make a villain that could outsmart Data, Moriarty becomes self-aware and knows he's part of a holodeck program. Being that this character appears on 2 great episodes of The Next Generation, he deserved a figure. Well, that's a look at 10 Playmate action figures from Star Trek I wish they made. In the comments below, let me know some maybe that I missed that you wish they did make. I mean, they made almost everybody, so it was kind of hard to come up with this list. Before you say in the comments, yes, I know that's not Picard. I said at the beginning of this video I had 3 Picards here, and I just wanted to see who in the comment section would tell me, that's not a Picard. So when you go to the comment section below to tell me what figure you wish they made in the Star Trek Playmates line, look to see who corrected me to let me know that middle one wasn't Picard. Thank you for watching. As always, please thumb up my video, and I'll be back very soon with a whole new video.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.